Hello and welcome. This week I thought I would try out something new. I want to try out some audiobooks. I'm not a huge audiobook person, which is weird because I do love listening to stories when I'm doing things around the house that I want some background noise. I love listening to scary story channels, true crime, just storytelling channels. When it comes to audiobooks, I don't listen to audiobooks. I do prefer physical books. I like to own books. I like to write in books and have books on my bookshelf. But I think the main barrier for me to get into audiobooks is that you have to pay for them, which I'm not disputing the fact that you have to pay for them. If I bought the audiobook and really loved the book, then I would want to buy the physical book to have in my collection. And now I've bought the book twice and I'm not at a point in my life financially where that makes sense. So I just haven't gotten into audiobooks. But what I have discovered is, believe it or not, there's this thing called the library where you can check out books temporarily and read them and return them. Crazy concept, I know. All jokes aside, obviously I knew that, but what I just recently discovered is that the libraries have an app, and I can get in the app and check out audiobooks that way, so I don't even have to leave my house, and I can check out an audiobook and just listen to it on my phone. So that's a perfect way for me to try out audiobooks without having to pay for them. I don't have a strict plan for what I want to read in this video, so we'll see. I think I am going to start with a thriller suspense, The Wife Between Us. It looks like it has a lot of twists in it. It's a domestic thriller with an unreliable narrator, which is always an interesting thing. It says, The Wife Between Us exposes the secret complexities of an enviable marriage and the dangerous truths we ignore in the name of love. But we are going to start this, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. So it's been not even a full day of listening to it, and I am almost 50% of the way through. Oh, please focus. I am almost 50% of the way through. So I'm really into it. I really like listening to it. It's kind of weird because normally when I listen to stories, it's just a person reading in their voice or trying to be soothing. Like, you're not going to listen to a story if the person has a terrible voice. The narrator's a woman, which makes sense, the main character's a woman, but it's kind of cringy when she reads lines that men say because she puts on this masculine voice. And it's not too bad. I'm just kind of nitpicking. It's just kind of funny. Some of the sentences she says in Richard's voice. But besides that, I'm finding it very entertaining. It's also kind of confusing. I think potentially if I had a physical book, this would be less confusing maybe. We are shifting between 3 different time periods. So we're following a main girl named Vanessa. We're getting before she was married. So when she was engaged to Richard, she's working as a teacher and a waitressing in the evenings to make it by, and she's got a roommate, and her roommate's her best friend, and, you know, not rich, but not poor. She's engaged to Richard, who she met on a plane, who kind of like pursued her, and he's rich. And then we're getting the time period of when they were married and they were trying to have kids. The way the book moves between time periods, like before they were married and after they were married, it sounds like it was a short marriage. I think they were actually been together for like many years, 10 years, like something like a good chunk of her life, right? So we get snippets from when they were married and she's trying to get pregnant, and then we get present time when she and Richard are divorced and she's basically acclimating to her life no longer being stinking rich because Richard divorced her and she didn't fight for anything, didn't really get anything, so now she's living with her aunt and is spiraling. She is really obsessive over Richard. She knows that he cheated on her with another woman, and she finds out that they're engaged and she's just completely obsessing over it. Everything in her life is consumed by the thought that Richard's moved on and is engaged to a new woman. She starts following them, following the new woman. And I know that based on the description of this book and the summary of this book is that she's an unreliable narrator. So I'm cautious into believing everything she says or thinks because, you know, she's kind of painting a picture that Richard manipulated her and she's kind of pointing things on Richard, right? But I'm aware that I think she's going crazy. Like there's something mentally not right with her. So we are slowly getting the full story of their dating life and their married life. And, you know, things were not great. Clearly, I think Richard's a little controlling, if not a lot of controlling, but is Richard bad cheater guy or is Vanessa just losing her mind and making all this up and obsessing over it? It's unclear. It's unclear on what the truth is. Obviously, we're only getting Vanessa's point of view. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Not even a day, not even a full day, and I'm already halfway through this book. So who would have thought? Audiobooks, incredible invention. I've just started part 2. I'm on chapter 21. Yeah, that's all I got for right now. Halfway through. It's going good. So I finished The Wife Between Us yesterday, and I really enjoyed it. We started getting more information on how their marriage was. She's trying to say that Richard was gaslighting her. Richard gets her this dog to make her happy, and the dog makes her happy, and then the dog gets lost or runs away or whatever, and it's just like really suspicious things, and then she gets depressed again, and we are led to believe that Richard got rid of the dog, so she thinks he's gaslighting her. So that goes on for a while, and then something switches where she's like, just kidding, I wanted to leave him all along, but the only way I thought I could leave him is if he left me, like he wouldn't let me leave him. So she starts pretending she's losing her mind. Like her mother had a bunch of mental health issues, and so she starts kind of acting like she's developing these mental health issues. She's drinking a lot, forgetting things, kind of depressed, and she apparently orchestrates the affair between Richard and the new woman. She's like, yeah, I knew he would do that, and so she kind of sets it up. So now it's like, oh, she wasn't going crazy, she wasn't being gaslit, she's orchestrating this to try and get Richard to leave her. And it's like, okay, great, so now why is she obsessed with the new wife and seemingly obsessed with the fact that he's already moved on? So the new girl that Richard's with's name is Emma. She then realizes, crap, like, yeah, maybe I've now escaped Richard, because Richard's like abusive and manipulative and controlling for sure. That's why she's like, he wouldn't let me leave him. That's why I need to get him to divorce me. And now she's like, great, I left him, but now I've pushed him onto this other girl who's now going to fall victim to him. So I guess her like new mission was to get them to break up because she doesn't want to force what happened to her onto anybody else, which makes sense. I will say the twist at the ending, did not see it coming. It was good. I enjoyed it. Very dramatic. I really liked it. I know I'm looking around a lot. That's what happens when I try and film outside. I get paranoid. But yeah, I would say really easy to listen to, quick to listen to, very twisty, turny, entertaining, and good. And that concludes the first audiobook that I've listened to. And now I am going to go for a run, which I'm actually really excited about because this will be the first run that I've done here since the leaves have changed for fall, so I'm excited about that. And I'm going to start my next audiobook. So So I am almost 80% of the way through Now Is Not the Time to Panic, and I'm really enjoying it. I picked up this one because I recently read Nothing to See Here, which is by the same author, and I enjoyed that book because of the plot, but I also really liked how the author wrote, so much so that I was looking into his other books that he's done. Now Is Not the Time to Panic is about a young girl who is kind of awkward and doesn't really have many friends and doesn't really fit in a lot of places. And one summer, this new boy moves into town and they become friends in a kind of weird manner. And he's kind of like her, where they're kind of awkward, misfit type teenagers. And she likes to write. She wants to be an author. She's working on a novel. And he likes to create art. He's an artist. He likes to draw. And there's a lot of tension between them because they're a young boy and girl who don't really fit in anywhere else. And they decide that they are going to make something. And they find this old printer and they make this weird piece of art, and she writes a weird nonsense saying, and they get really obsessed with it and they print off hundreds and hundreds of copies, and they just decide to start hanging it up around town. And you know, that's relatively harmless, but they're hanging it up everywhere, covering bulletin boards, covering walls. This weird art with this really nonsense saying is everywhere. Now the saying is, "The Edge is a shanty town filled with gold seekers. We are fugitives and the law is skinny with hunger for us." It's just this thing that she wrote that, like, she doesn't even know what it means, but suddenly posters of this saying and this weird art are covering the town. And it's kind of a small town, and this is before internet, and this buzz starts spreading crazy fast around what these posters are. People are saying it's like probably just a rock band, and then of course there are extremists thinking it's the work of a cult. Nobody knows what it's trying to say or what it means. So people start freaking out, and nobody knows that they're putting up these posters, that they created this poster. And it goes so far into chaos where other people start putting up the posters. They find posters that they didn't do, that are slightly different, printed on different paper that they were using, and even at one point it gets kind of altered. People are reposting this poster and it's spreading like wildfire, and it gets so chaotic that 2 people actually end up dying. One kid was trying to climb to the top of this water tower or something to post these posters, and he fell to his death. So it's just a really odd story, and I really like his writing style because he takes such mundane things, experiences that I think a lot of people have had, but words them in a way where it's like, wow, I would have never thought to describe it that way. I'm almost done with it 80% of the way through, and so I am already thinking about looking into more books by this same author because I really like how he writes things. They can be such simple ideas and sentences, but they come off impactful the way he writes them and tells these stories. So right now in the book, it's many, many years later after high school. Her and this boy haven't seen each other, and she's married to a man that she loves, and a reporter is looking into this event that happened in this town many years ago. She knows that this now woman is the one who was a part of it, so she's reaching out to her and trying to get the full story on what the heck this weird thing was that happened in this town so many years ago, and that's where I am now. Okay, so I finished Now Is Not the Time to Panic, and honestly I think I'm gonna give it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. There's so many good one-liners in the book, which is when I wish I had the physical copy, you know, as opposed to just listening to it. I probably will get the physical copy one day because I would like to reread it. The ending is relatively uneventful, and that is how Nothing to See Here was as well, but it's just the way he crafts stories where it doesn't feel boring. She's never stopped putting up these posters her whole life. Every town, every place she's gone to, she's like left a poster somewhere. And it's definitely talking a lot about young love and identity and the power of art and finding identity through it. So I really enjoyed it and wish I had the physical book. And with that being said, I've moved on to the third and final book. However, I am getting suspicious on this whole thing because I've started notes on an execution. And I say I'm getting suspicious because I'm really enjoying this book as well. It's just weird that we're getting success 3 for 3. I mean, granted, the first one I only gave 4 stars, but still, a 4-star, a 5-star. I don't know what I'm gonna rate this. I'm thinking higher than a 3. I'm feeling really good about it and really enjoying it. And it's like, oh, this is kind of a book I wish I had because I'm enjoying it so much. So I'm suspicious. Did I just like magically randomly pick 3 books that I really like? Or is there something to do with the fact that I'm just listening to it and I can listen to it kind of sped up and get through it quickly? Is that impacting how I'm feeling about the book? I don't know. That's a weird question, a weird thing I didn't think I would encounter. But I am already 50% of the way through. This is the thing with audiobooks, I'm just devouring them audibly. So we're getting multiple point of views, but it's all surrounding this one man and his serial murders. So we get a chapter from Ansel, the murderer, who is present day on death row. He's going to get executed in 12 hours. And then we get chapters from back when he was a child from his mother's perspective. His mother was, if not teenage, she was like 21, really young, got pregnant and moved in with the father of her child. I don't remember if they got married. Kind of irrelevant because the man is extremely controlling and abusive, beats her and restricts food from her and her son. So we get the perspective of Ansel's childhood from the mom. He ends up getting put in foster care because of the chaos with his parents. And then we get chapters from a girl in foster care who has a crush on him. So that's from when, like, his more young middle childhood years. And then we get chapters from when he's in college. We get perspectives from his college girlfriend's sister. And I think that's all the perspectives that we're getting. So we are just following all of the points in this man's life is getting dissected and explained through the perspective of the women in his life. And it's a really unique way to do it. I've not read anything like it before. He's got this thesis he's working on, of course. He believes that morality is determined by our choices, that morality is not fixed, it's fluid, that there is no right and wrong. It's interesting because the girl who had a crush on him in foster care has a freaky experience with him. They get transferred to separate systems and lose track of each other, and then she ends up becoming a homicide investigator. So I think it's going to lead into she's the one who starts investigating the crimes he committed, and potentially she's the one who catches him for the murders, which is interesting. But yeah, it's really cool, really unique way to tell a story about a serial killer. I'm halfway through, but I am really enjoying listening to it. And it's incredible, the magic of a library. I get to enjoy and read this book without having to spend $20. I might end up spending $20, but a try before you buy sort of deal. Who would have thought? Libraries, great idea, right? All right, I have done it. So I've finished Notes on an Execution, and here's the thing. I liked it. I give it 4 stars, but I do have to say, obviously it's making commentary on the injustices of the justice system. It's making commentary on the glorification of serial killers, and it's also commentating on capital punishment. I think it's pretty obvious what they were trying to say, but I don't think they did a very good job at it. And I also don't think I really agree with any of their commentary. I especially don't agree with the idea that morality is fluid and up for debate. Definitely don't agree with that. And I think that the commentary on glorifying serial killers is a valid question and a valid point to be discussing, but I think it's so nuanced and complicated that it's hard to come off clear. Because what are we supposed to do? Not talk about, how is not talking about these things going to help? And that definitely won't solve the problem or stop it from happening. But I respect that point and conversation. I don't think that their hard-hitting points and view on the world was translated well, and I also don't think I agree with what they were even saying. But besides that, I really liked the perspective of this book. I really liked learning about the serial killer through the eyes and lives of the women in his life and the victims. I think at some points it got a little confusing because there were a lot of names, a lot of characters, and by the end, when it was clearly the authors trying to make some sort of point about her worldview, it gets a little confusing, but regardless, I still think I'd give this 4 stars. I still really enjoyed the construction of this story. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy and surprised with how this audiobook video went. I really liked everything I read, which is a little strange. Not that I always have bad experiences when I do reading videos, but I definitely don't think they are usually this successful in terms of rating or intrigue, but all of these books were a pretty good success for me. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed watching. Leave a comment down below letting me know your thoughts on any of the things I talked about in this video, and I really hope to see you soon in my next one. Bye!